As always, I'm Cash Daniel. This is Todd Lanner. Welcome to Fully Unscripted. We got a lot to talk about today. Deion Sanders accepts the head coaching job at Colorado. Hopefully, Liam Coen is coming back as the offensive coordinator. Special guest sitting right here beside me, starting center for the Kentucky Wildcats, going into the Music City Bowl here in a couple weeks. He took the time out of his day to come sit down and talk to us for a little bit, so we appreciate that, Mr. Eli Cox. And this podcast shall begin right about now. What's going on, boys? How we feeling? Todd,
good.
how you feeling?
I feel good.
How's
How do you feel? That's what matters.
I feel pretty good. We're almost going on our second week off now after the Louisville game, after a big win. So everyone's feeling good, rested, rejuvenated. Going to start bowl prep here soon next week.
Dude, isn't that the best feeling when you finally get, like, it's week 12 after you beat the shit out of Louisville, and then you're like, okay, well, it's good for your physical state.
It's better for the mental state.
But I know, but you still got finals, though.
Oh, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
I've got my first degree.
You're smart. You're a smart dude, though. So I mean, that's probably not.
I'd like to think I am.
A problem. Yeah, I think
What's your
you're pretty
first
smart.
degree in?
My first degree, it's a mouthful. It was integrated strategic communications.
Nice.
And my pathway was public relations. So it's basically like a mix of public relations and marketing.
Nice.
So you're not like former teammate Luke Fortner, who's got like the Elon Musk
No, he's an
degrees,
astrophysicist or whatever he's doing.
and then he's
Yeah,
got a
no.
minor in like God knows what else. You know, he seems like he could build a rocket ship any day, any given week.
He's insanely smart, but he also just likes going to school. I can't relate to him there. He enjoys like just tests and cramming for stuff. Him and Quentin Wilson, they just both just love school, and I can't do it.
I'll tell you one of the best things I love about Luke is that he's probably one, and I'm trying to make this make sense. He's the dudest of dudes, like, around. Like, he's just a straight dude. Like, when he came in, I think he came in the same week Josh Allen did when you all played Georgia. And Josh is there with his family. You know, he's out on the sideline hanging out and stuff. And I think Justin Rigg was on the sideline too. And I go, isn't Luke in town? He's like, yeah, he's over at Tin Roof, just hanging out drinking beers.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I think Slusher even told me, he was like, yeah. He's like, this guy gets paid millions and millions of dollars. We go down to see him in Jacksonville, and he's just like still like he's living in college. I was like, well, that's because Luke's smart. Because like he's got all these millions and millions of dollars. He's not spending hundreds of thousands on it in his first year. Like, he's going to have so much money left over to when the NFL stands for not for long. So,
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to have so much money, left over to where he can buy as many Bud Lights as he wants to at Tin Roof when his playing days are over.
Yeah, and he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything. I doubt he has any type of decorate. His apartment probably just has a bed, water bottles, and his PlayStation. That's probably it.
I could see Luke having maybe not like a full size couch,
It's a little love seat,
like a love seat,
yeah.
and then maybe like a recliner chair, not a recliner chair, but like a lawn chair, just sitting there,
Sitting in front of his
and
TV.
his
so he
TVs
can
are
play.
set up. His TV's probably set up on move-in boxes that he moved in with that day. Just kidding, Luke. We love you, buddy. But man, let's dive into the season real quick a little bit. You guys, like I said, coming off another win against Louisville.
Yep.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Bowl eligible for another year. Congratulations on that. Thoughts on the Music City Bowl and thoughts on playing Iowa for the second year in a row. That's hardly ever happened in a bowl game. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm excited to play him because I was injured at the tail end of the season last year, so I didn't really get to play against them in the Citrus Bowl. But I mean, they're a gritty, hard-nosed, classic Big Ten football team. So like, I think that's fun. I think our styles really mesh together. Like playing really sound defense, let's run the ball on offense. I think we have very similar styles. Coach Stoops comes from Iowa, and I think he kind of built a program the way he built the programs he was in when he was in college, and it's worked for both teams. They're pretty successful especially since Stoops has built Kentucky up to the way it is now. So, and Nashville's always a fun city. Like, we're all looking forward to go down there. Spend a week on
we are
Broadway
looking forward to getting down to Nash gritty.
And
Absolutely.
BBN always travels well to Nashville.
Oh, it's
They always do.
It's
So it's gonna be
basically
great.
South Lexington.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even when we would play at Vandy, I mean, it was just like a home game almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. You gonna buy any pair of boots down there? Usually, when everybody goes down there, they always go to the boot store because around that time, with it being Christmas and New Year's, they always got a good deal of like buy one get one free.
Oh, yeah,
Get
that's
you
the
a
plan.
nice new pair of shit kickers.
We're going to get a nice pair of kickers. And then I'm thinking we got to get some like custom cowboy hats too while we're down there.
Definitely go in there and
Get
get
them
that
fitted,
thing
get
all
it velvet,
steamed,
get it real nice, steamed up.
steamed
Perfect.
out, and
Yeah.
nice brim and everything. Everything
yeah.
will be good to go, man. But how are you holding up physically? I know you've had a long season. You played in every single game. How's everything going?
Pretty good. I mean, I started last year, but it was only for 9 games until I got hurt. And then this is my first time being a full-time starter for 12 games, and it is a grind. It is a long season. It's really all fun, and you recover pretty fast until about like week 6.
Mm-hmm.
When that bye week comes around, like Tuesdays when you go up to practice full patch, like, man, I'm still feeling Saturday. And then Thursday, I'm like week 12, you're still feeling stuff from Saturday. So it's just the recovery takes a lot longer each week, and it's a grind, but I feel good. I feel fresh. It's nice to have some time off.
Yeah, and you guys, like we were talking about before, that we got rolling here, probably back this weekend. I know you got 15 practices, including the 5 when you get down there. You weren't on the team yet. So the last time we went to the Music City Bowl was in 2017, so my sophomore year. You need to get in TK's ear about this and say, TK, I heard you did something special down there for the boys. First off, had they told you guys yet about what the plan is as far as when you go down?
I believe we're going down the 26th. They haven't sent it out officially because the bowl's not until the 31st. Like, we'll be down the 26th, have our full 5 days to be down there.
Okay, because our game was on the 27th when we went down there. So we had to go down there.
You spent Christmas down there.
Yeah, we spent Christmas down there. So it was like the 24th or the 25th we had to go. And so we pull up. I think I've told this story on here before, haven't I?
Part of it.
So we pull up to Vandy's practice facility indoor. And we get off the bus. It's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I can't remember which one is which. We get off the bus. We're walking down the tunnel. And then we look over across and we see the student managers dressed as elves.
Oh, yeah.
Like, literally, TK had them in, like, their regular tennis shoes, but, like, pointy little boots that, like, come over top of them. Had them in, like, green fucking, elf suits, full gear. And then I'm like, what the hell is this? And all of a sudden, you look off to your left, and you see TK standing there looking like Billy Bob Thornton from Bad Santa in a Santa outfit with the beard that he wore, like, that comes with that suit, was tucked below his chin, and he's got that, he's got that Marlboro beard going, He's just sitting there just ripping a dart like it's nothing. And then that was probably one of the more funnier practices we had, just because, when the horn blows, everybody's, going from different stations to stations, and, all those student managers are running around like literal elves, in Santa's workshop, basically. TK's workshop. So you have to get in his ear about that.
Yeah, I might have to. That'd be fun.
There will be.
Add a little something to it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the last couple years of the Kentucky offense. Obviously, you had Liam Coen last year, who is the front runner, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. We're supposed to hear back this week to be the offensive coordinator to be the next offensive coordinator here next year. If that happens, please God, let it happen. Going to be a lot of exciting times. And then we got Rich Scangarello in here this year. Obviously, he just got relieved of his duties. I'm not going to ask you any questions to put you in a position to where you have to, just keep it in between the lines.
Yeah.
But what would you say would be the biggest difference that you saw in last year's offense, the way that it was, the way the plays were called, the way rhythms were systematic, everything in between? What would you say the biggest difference has been?
Yeah, I think when Coen came in, he brought McVay's system and Scangarello's system. They're very similar. Both come from the Shanahan coaching tree. For anyone that follows NFL coaching, Kyle Shanahan, his dad, kind of invented the wide zone scheme. They have the wide zone play action boot scheme that is pretty popular in the NFL. And I think what Coach Coen did is he didn't really know what he had here yet. And he basically took that system and kind of tweaked it for college.
Simplified it.
Yeah, simplified it. It was a lot of just one words, run and go. It was a little simpler. It was a little more modified to kind of do what college teams do. And I think when we brought in Coach Scangarello right from the 49ers, he saw tape. And he's like, well, we have an NFL quarterback. So let's run that NFL system because it works when you have an NFL quarterback.
Right.
And it's a little bit more complicated than what we've done in the past. But, I mean, it's what the NFL does. It's a little slower paced. It's more methodical. You're not going to – NFL games don't end up scoring 50, 60 points. Games end 24-10, 21-7. Like, that's kind of the approach we tried to take this year, is be a more methodical offense that just tried to grind out drives and sustain drives, let our defense get their breath on the sidelines.
So that's the biggest thing that when people would ask me – when they would come to me and say, man, what's up, with this offense? I mean, we're not as, we're not throwing the ball deep down the field like we used to, or last year when Coen was here, yada, yada, yada. And the biggest thing that I would hear is that maybe it's overcomplicating for that kind of system for especially a young offensive line like you guys. It's young skilled players like Dane Key, Barryon Brown, who are true freshmen. Will Levis, he's been in his system for 2 years. Obviously, like you said, a NFL pro-style quarterback. But it almost seemed like at times that, with the play calling, with the system in itself may have got too complicated. And speaking of NFL quarterbacks, speaking of Will and all the great things he's done here, what's it like been playing with number 7?
Will's been a great teammate. And he came in and he was obviously new to the program. And there was a lot of guys who'd been here a long time. And I think what he did really well is he didn't just walk in acting like he was the man and he was like quarterback number 1. He was a confident guy, no doubt, but he came in like he earned that spot. And then he earned the trust from all the guys on the team to be the guy that is the vocal leader, is the physical leader, and leads by example. Because you can't just come in guns blazing and expect everyone to follow you. That leadership stuff's earned. And I think he did a great job from day one, just earning that leadership and respect from the guys just by being a gritty, tough football player. And everyone wants to follow someone like that. So it's been a pleasure playing with him, and I'm wishing him none of the best of luck when he moves on to the league. I think he's going to do really well.
I was about to say, it sounded like you kind of knew something we didn't. But I was going to kind of press you, but I'm not going to do that to you.
I don't know anything you don't know, man.
Todd, you got anything?
I mean, I kind of wanted to follow up.
I've been kind of dominating this interview, so
I don't know.
I know we're a team.
I admittedly don't know the schematics of football as well as you do, so I'll sit back and listen. But we kind of had this topic last week on this show, as far as earning the trust of the locker room. So I'm glad you brought that up with Will, just because we were talking about what Jacoby Brissett's done in Cleveland. And then you have, $250 million man that's got to step into that spot now because they have to obviously, play him since he's demanding that check, and he's got to step in and, aside from what he's dealing with off the field, he's got to earn the respect of the locker room and this, do what needs to be done in order to be successful. So, obviously that drives success at all levels, not only professionally, but through college as well. So I'm glad that he was able to come in and, earn that. Obviously we've been able to see what it translates to on the field. So it's really cool that y'all were able to mesh as quickly as you did.
I'll tell you what and I've said this multiple times, and I want to get your input on this. As you were talking about with him being a confident guy coming in, not being too overbearing, like his shit didn't stink or anything like that. To be named a captain, from only being there for a summer, that has to speak volumes to what kind of leadership style that he has. And I was listening to Coach Stoops talk earlier today in his weekly presser of just how he came in and kind of piggyback what you said of just putting in the work. He wasn't going to, try to win you over with his words. He wasn't going to try to win you over with being, a rah-rah guy, anything like that. I wouldn't know who would be a rah-rah guy, in this room. I wouldn't know that.
Those vocal leaders and everything.
Yeah. But, he was talking about how, he went about his business, when he first got here, of learning the system, developing that chemistry with his wide receivers and everybody. What's it been like, seeing him overall develop? I mean, I know that he came in the summer, like I said, being voted a 2-time captain. What's his development been like, with you, snapping the ball to him every single Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's one of the hardest workers I've met. He has his own, he'll FaceTime his, a quarterback coach that, is critiquing the biomechanics of the way he throws the ball. So he's got a cannon of an arm, but it's not just that he has a God-given ability to throw the football. He has tailored which body parts move first, driving off rotary power. He is getting it down. He has it down to a science and how to perfectly throw the football for the way he's built. And he's constantly working with receivers in the indoor, just perfecting his form, recording it, watching it over again. What could he have done better? How's he holding the ball? His shoulder, his ankles, all that stuff that goes into just what seems simple, throwing a football. He is down to the minute details. So I think that just speaks to the type of player he is. He just works extremely hard.
Well, he's one of those guys that definitely has that it factor. He gets it. He understands that, it's not about what you do when people are watching. It's about when people aren't watching. What are you doing? Kind of like what you're saying, working in the indoor with his receivers, recording everything he does, tweaking his arm motion, tweaking, whatever he needs to do. Moving on down to the offensive line, the big boys who don't get enough love, which is why I wanted you to have you on here, because not a lot of big boys get a lot of love. And without you guys, Will would not be walking. He simply would not be walking. But toughest defensive line you played this year, don't say Georgia.
If it's not Georgia, that's a good question, because there's different types of tough. Because then you play a team like Missouri had very long. They have a very different type of defensive line build than a team like Georgia. Georgia's defensive line were extremely strong, stout guys that were about 6'4", 330 pounds, and they're we're going to play our gap, and you aren't going to move us, and we're going to make tackles. Where when we play teams like Missouri, who have more, not exactly the 6'3", 340, their D linemen are 6'5", 300, 290, but they're extremely long and athletic.
Mm-hmm.
So it presents two very different challenges because Missouri would just line up in different fronts. They'd move around, and they would present you different looks. As a center, that was probably one of the harder games other than Georgia's because we're getting a bunch of different fronts, having to ID the defense in different ways, set our protection with a bunch of different rules for the different looks. So they try to create the most confusion and havoc as a defense then, along with the very talented, long, athletic defensive line. That was probably the toughest one outside of Georgia.
I got you.
That's a cool answer. Here, I'm going to chime in real quick now. So
right
I'm a very, very novice when it comes to the schematics of football.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned a lot from him doing this so far with him. Teach me a little bit, like, for the audience that doesn't know as well, like what's your, when you step up to the line and they're, shifting and things, how are you communicating with your guys? Like what's your duty as a center?
So my duty is, who does the offensive line combination have to get to based off of our blocking combination, like our blocking scheme in the run game? So every single run play has what we would just call like a point, just in basic football terminology. Every run play has a point, especially in the NFL systems, whether that's the Mike, the Sam, or the Will, or the plug. We all have different points. So my job is to ID the defense. Are they in a 3-4 structure, a 4-3 structure, even front, odd front, over or under front? Where's our strength? So where's the Sam? Where's the Mike? And I would just point out the Mike, say, all right, this is the combinations we're going to take to get to that guy. And that's all before the snap.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm going back to Drake here because he used to piss me off like no other in practice because he was so good at not only reading our defense, but reading the littlest stuff that would give away what we're running. So and I'm sure that he's taught you the same thing, and I'm sure you've picked up on it just by your own knowledge in the game. But when linebackers are like up on their toes, or when you slowly start to see that safety start to creep, or you slowly start to see that wheel back or walk down toward the line, you see that jack kind of move back a little bit. What is the biggest indication as far as linebackers go to know that, hey, we got to switch something up?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, and it was always fun in Schlarman's offense because everything was more like zone. Drake had a lot of freedom because he was a really smart player, and he had the freedom to change things. And you can just tell the biggest difference, and I'm sure that's why it pissed you off, because he could see what you were doing. And he played you guys for 4 weeks every year just during fall camp. He would piss him off. But like some of the biggest things I've noticed, and our linebackers are very talented, and they do their darndest not to give anything away. But the biggest indicators as far as linebackers go are where their eyes are at. Because like because I know the basic UK defense. I know what gap he's supposed to have when they line up in base. I know what his keys usually is because I can just see him where he's looking the whole time. So if their eyes are kind of wandering, they're probably up to something. If his eyes are locked in on his key, I know they're probably just playing base. And then you can see stuff when they're on different levels. So normally backers are right at about 5 yards. They hover right around 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. If one backer is up at about 4.5, 3.5 yards, and one's staying back, I'm expecting some movement. If the defensive line, they cheat stuff all the time. So just a basic under front, you've got your 2-eye away from the tight end, or 2-eye towards the tight end side. You got 3 technique backside. If that 3 technique is usually pretty loose the whole game, but all of a sudden he's really tight on my guard, thinking, well, why is he tight? He's cheating. He's probably going to go across the face.
He's trying to crash.
Yeah, they're going to do something. Yeah. So they all try and cheat. If a backer's kind of creeping up on his toes, especially Drake could hold the cadence. That was something that was really special.
And that's what he would do. He would literally sit there and hold it. And I would try to time it every single time. I'd be like, okay, he goes down one time to look, comes up, looks across, looks down again, snap. I was like, okay, I got his repetition down. So then we would try to creep. He would do the same thing. And as soon as he put that head down and come up, I would start to creep. And he'd just be like, check, check, check. Max right, whatever he was making. And I just slipped. Like, yeah. But when you see opposing defenses like that, obviously I know you go through camp, you go through spring ball, you kind of get, same thing with us on offense. I mean, we could tell, when Coach Graham was there, we could tell, whether CJ or Justin, wherever they were tucked in at, as far as a Y off position, if they're outside of tackle, if they're inside the tackle, if they're splitting the crotch, or if they're inserted in the backfield, almost like a fullback, I've talked about this on here all the time. You're always playing process of elimination of, what could be coming. Are we looking at the split of the receivers? How deep is the back? Is he level 3 behind the quarterback? Is he level 2 even? Is he level 1 in front? So you're always playing process of elimination. Is that kind of the same thing, when you're out there looking across opposing defenses and you see, little certain things? Are you playing that process of elimination, or is it more so of adjusting on the fly once the ball is snapped, where you still need to go, obviously, to get your point of contact? When you look across on an opposing defense, is there ever anything to where like, okay, I can eliminate that because of X, Y, or Z?
I think it's definitely a little bit of both. So like when we're doing like pre-snap stuff, defenses, I mean, every football, both sides of the ball have tendencies. So like you were talking about where the lining backs lined up, where the tight end is. A lot of teams like to line their tight up in this thing to run this play. Or they like this formation to run that play. And you know those tendencies going into a game just from film study. So we're the same way. Like as soon as you kind of study a defensive coordinator's habits, when does he like to light you up with the blitz? Is he more conservative until you get into the red zone? Some coordinators like to light you up as soon as you cross the 50. Some like to light you up the whole time or right when you get the ball to get a quick 3 and out and get their offense back on the field. So you kind of know their tendencies. And that's kind of like, as soon as we have a team, like some teams that light you up when we pass the 50, as soon as we pass the 50-yard, I'm thinking in my head, okay, let's be aware for different looks. In the huddle, I'm thinking, okay, something's different. I'm watching their personnel. They bring in a dime package to do a bunch of exotic blitzes. Are they staying nickel? Are we in base? So a lot of that stuff kind of gives tell with the tendencies. But once you're post-snap or when we're in the cadence, things are about to happen, a lot safeties kind of give a lot away for me. So I'm looking at the safety alignment. If they're just in a normal 2-deep look, a lot of the times that's when you're getting your more base coverages. Defenses are staying a little more still. But if we're on a hash and it's third down and the safety's off the hash, corner's pressed to the single receiver side, I'm thinking, okay, here's probably coming corner cat. Like they usually don't line up like that. Like safety's got to cover this whole half the field. Why is he cheated over? Different stuff like that. And you got to be able to adjust post-snap because one thing that makes Georgia's defense so tough is they're so athletic. They can disguise it as good as they want. Like I remember, not this past season, but last season, we would always look at safeties and stuff, and safeties would really cheat over for different blitzes. And I was looking, I was like, oh, that safety has moved. He's right in his base spot. We're good. And then the movement kind of caught me off guard. I was like, holy, they just did it anyway. And I came to the sideline, and our coach was like, yeah, they're athletic enough to do it. They don't have to cheat. They can just get out of there. So it makes like NFL defenses are so hard when they move because those guys are all so athletic. They don't have to cheat anything at all. But it definitely, go to your point, it's a little bit of both. You have to know the tendencies of that defense, and then once you know the tendencies, it kind of helps you react a little faster because you can see it coming.
I got you.
So badass.
What's the transition been like from you, from playing guard to coming in and playing center? I know that Luke kind of did the same thing last year. We always played guard and came in and did a terrific job at center. What's the transition been like for you?
It's been a pretty smooth transition. Luckily, when Coach Larman was still coaching us, when I was even a freshman just on the threes, he had me play center with the fours, like that next group. And then when I was my second year, I was on the twos, he'd still have me playing center with the fours just because he's like, trust me, you're going to play it. You're not playing it now, but you're going to play it at some point. And then even when we had Coach Wolf as our O-line coach, I went into that spring ball as the two centers where I started. So I played center the entire spring and then moved to guard in camp when we moved Fortner over. So I've had a lot of experience at center, mostly in practice, but that really made the transition a lot smoother.
Man, what a guy. I miss him every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, just hearing you talk about him, man, I mean, I know you got to know him on more of a day-to-day basis because you played in the same position room. He recruited me out of high school. I'm sure he did the same for you for being this area's recruiter. Overall, what did he mean to you? Because I know that and that's a pretty broad, question, but, and I'll go ahead and ask myself that question. He taught me humility, and he always taught me that no matter what you're going through, whether it be in football, in personal life, there's always a choice. You have a choice to make. You can either lay down and cry like a little bitch about it, or you get up and you keep fighting, no matter what life throws at you. So what did the late, great John Salerno mean to you?
I think just his grit and his toughness was just the lesson he taught, just the way he lived his life. I mean, he was barely able to walk, going through chemo. His body was beat to all get out. He was struggling just to survive day to day. But he would come out on that golf cart and he'd stand there, and he was in the middle of the fall camp heat, in the middle of August, 99 degrees, standing there coaching his butt off. And that was just like, there's so many more things he could have been doing when your days are numbered. But he gave us everything he had, and just he loved the offensive line position. He loved our offensive line room, and he loved Kentucky, and he gave it everything he had. And I think just his toughness and his grit, and like we're speaking on the humility, like especially Schlarman kind of started that big blue wall moniker that this position group's been come to known by. And he almost hated it more than anybody because he was like, the moment you start thinking you've arrived and we're some special offensive line, he said, you're going to get humbled real quick. He's like, his big thing is you just have to earn. If you want a name like that, you're going to earn it every single week because it's not something that you just have a good game, get slapped that name, and then all of a sudden you think you've made it. You don't have to work as hard because we're the big blue wall. Of course we're going to have a good offensive line. Like, it's something you have to earn every single week.
Oh, man, he was always about earning every single thing you get, whether it be your position, whether it be, where you are at in the classroom. Like, I remember him even talking to me about grades at one point. He wasn't even my position coach. He's like, hey, man, we had a meeting today. You're falling behind, in X, Y, and Z. What are you doing? And just for a coach to go out of his way to do some of the things he done, not just for me, but for, I'm sure, everybody there in that offensive line group, the almost like father figure that a lot of guys needed. Is I can sit here and we can talk about him all day, but moving forward, is there anybody that you look to in the league or maybe even around college? Well, I wouldn't say around college because, you want to think you're the best around. Anybody in the league that you kind of tend to kind of model your game after?
One guy, film I really like to watch as center is Garrett Bradbury. He played at NC State a few years ago, won the Remington. He's been the center for the Vikings. I think he's going on year 4 maybe. And he is really good offensive lineman. I think he kind of flies under the radar for the most part because he's still one of the younger players. But I think when you watch his game, I think we have a similar body type, a similar build, and same physical attributes. It's like I would love to go watch Jason Kelsey, but I'm not able to run a 4.8 40 former tight end.
By the way, did you see how he came to the game the other day?
Yes, and that was in that outfit. That was awesome. Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah, but like I love watching him play, but that's not exactly. He's probably my favorite football player, but I can't exactly model my game after him. That's just kind of
right. You just have, you can have inspiration here and there.
Yeah,
like,
sure. Like I can't do the things he does, and he probably can't do certain things I can do just because I'm a bigger frame. Like every football player is a little different, but just someone I try to make my game after is definitely Garrett Bradbury. The way he can stick to blocks, I guess I'm sure he just annoys the piss out of defensive linemen because a lot of offensive line, it's hard when you're trying to get all your weight going forward and move a 300-pound person. You can get off balance. They'll shed you off. And it's difficult to maintain keeping your hips under and maintaining that leverage to just stick to guys. And he is so good at it that once he gets his hands on that block, he's going to have them on and he will drive you until the whistles and then even after it. So I just really like the way he plays. He just sticks to blocks, very athletic, and he's pretty savvy for a younger player too.
I got you. All right. Enough X's and O's talk. Let's get down to some fun questions. One thing I want to ask, is the away food, like more in particular the away chicken wings, are they still horrible, like when you go on the road?
So we've had a new nutritionist since you've been at UK football. Miss Becky has made a very point. Like she comes to the offensive line table every week with 2 very important questions. How are the wings and how are the cookies?
That's the most 2 important questions that need to be asked by a team nutritionist. That's the only 100%. Thing that should matter.
How are the wings and how are the cookies? Because when we have the home games, it's comfortable because we know what we're getting. It's the same people cooking, the same things. Sometimes away games can be better than the home games, but it's consistency.
Right.
So we know what we're getting. But every away game, she'd come like, what do we think? 'Cause she's always nervous because you don't know who's cooking it. Different people. We haven't been here in 2 years, so she's nervous, but she's always on the money. Like, how are the wings and how are the cookies? But my favorite wings, just from I know what I'm getting every time. I fill up my plate with the fillets, and I get the wings and 3 cookies and a whole milk. And I go back to my table and I enjoy it every day.
Not going to the pasta bar?
I can't do the pasta bar. I did when I was like my first year traveling. I would scarf the pasta down, but like I can't have it sitting on my stomach. It's so good.
It was unbelievable.
I just couldn't have it sitting on my stomach.
No,
that was right when you get to the hotel Friday night.
Okay, guys.
Okay, so his pregame meal still flank steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, and may or may not be cookies and chicken breast. There's always a chicken breast.
Chicken breast. Yeah, it's the exact same meal.
God, that's awesome.
Green beans, mashed potatoes, I think broccoli, salad bar, fruit bar, chicken breast, like the loaded mashed potatoes. It's been the exact same meal. Oh, and the spaghetti and meat sauce.
And I forgot about that.
Spaghetti and meat sauce. It's there every single time. It's been the same for the past 4 years.
So
man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. Dude. I mean, we used to literally like load up, especially when like my first 2 years when I was playing. And I knew I was just a special teams dude. Dude, I would literally load up like it was Thanksgiving meal.
Oh, you can pick out. Especially like when you're a backup offensive lineman, you don't play it. Like Schlarman would rotate maybe 7 guys. He was good at rotating, but he had 7, 8 guys. And if you weren't one of the 7 or 8. You were kind of like, you were there, but you were kind of like, no, I'm not really, unless someone gets hurt, I'm probably not playing tomorrow. So like, you would just load up that play. Like, I'm not worried how I feel tomorrow morning. I'm eating it up now, man.
I knew I was walk on for basketball. I knew I wasn't playing, so I scarfed everything down every time. And this is a funny thing, just because we're talking about pregame meal. I want to tell you all this. So, we always had Starbucks. Like, we had a Starbucks. Like,
of course, you guys
thing.
did.
They like came to the meals, and so we had this like
we got
thing.
You know what we got for coffee?
Hotel coffee.
We got that stuff that ISIS drinks, son. Keeps you straight up for 3 days straight.
Well,
straight out the pot, Brazilian beans, son.
It gets worse though. So we had the Starbucks barista there or whatever, and Cal only drinks Dunkin'.
Oh yeah,
this is 2%.
I used to see him all the time over off South Broadway.
Yeah, he goes there every morning,
just hanging out.
So,
and the cool thing is, nobody ever bothers him.
No, that's his sacred spot. But he would send a manager to get Starbucks every single day. Dunkin'. Yeah, I'm sorry, every single day, rather than drink the Starbucks. So they'd have to, like, whenever we were traveling, we're staying at whatever hotel. Like, part of the checklist was how close is Dunkin' and how long is it going to take us to get there and get back with his coffee.
That's funny. He says Cal is a dunk because Stoops is straight Starbucks.
Yeah.
He won't drink anything. He sits there swirling his cup. Swirling his Starbucks latte he's got going on. It's strictly Starbucks.
Yeah, I said this before we started, but I got my normal iced coffee, and I think they were just like, this guy's too wired up. We're just going to get 2% milk on ice.
Literally, like, they saw him in the camera, like, as he pulled up to the drive-thru, and they're like, oh, that's that fucking Todd Lander guy.
I know they knew it because I ordered it.
I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to fill this thing up about literally 3/4 of milk, and we're going to put a splash of coffee in there, just give that little brown look.
But I mobile ordered it too, so it's even worse. I pulled up and they stuck it out the window. They were just like, go. And I was like, that was fast. And she was like, beat it.
Speaking of hotel, speaking of pregame, is flip still a thing?
Is flip still a thing?
Yeah. Dude's playing.
Oh, just playing quarters?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, people shoot quarters all the time, especially on the bowl game.
Oh,
I'll never forget. I was coming in. It was the Belk Bowl. So it was my first bowl game. It was your last. I think
that was my last one.
It was your last one. And I was sitting there, and Landon was just in the locker room. Had a quarter.
This is what I was telling you about.
Yep. He's had a quarter flicking it, and guys would just kind of come up, and you get a nice per diem for the days you practice without class.
Mm-hmm.
So when school is out and you're required to be there, with the way the scholarship works, you get a per diem loaded onto your PNC card. And so sometimes if they knew you'd be there a whole week, they would just load it all up front. So guys were like, oh, shoot, I got a little extra dough. And so they would all go to the PNC ATM, pull out their per diem, and people would just be throwing wads of cash, just flipping quarters. And it was so funny because Lynn Bowden, it just must be the luckiest guy in all of creation, because every single time when you're coming back for curfew at the bowl game, he would just be walking out of the team room with a big wad of cash. I was like, dude, what'd you do? He's like, quarters, man.
Lynn probably had that double-sided quarter, though.
He had to.
He's smart, dude.
He had to. I mean, he would just sit there and call heads, just flip, and just win.
Speaking of that game, you know what was probably the most impressive thing that nobody talked about? It was when Lynn got in that pregame scuffle with those dudes when he looked like Flavor Flav out there with all of his chains on. I can't remember if it was. I think it was a piece of bread. Yeah, it was a piece of bread that Coach Klink had in his mouth, separating that fight, and he didn't drop a single bit of it. Single piece of bread in his mouth the entire time. Separated a fight.
He's just eating a piece of bread?
Well, I think it was like garlic bread or something before. I can't remember exactly what. I'm saying bread, but I really couldn't tell you what it was.
I'm so hungry. I'm getting spaghetti.
I just remember it was food, and he was devouring that shit. It might have been a sandwich of some sort.
Good.
And peanut. Okay, it was a peanut butter and jelly, PB&Js we had before the game.
Yeah.
And you see Lynn, and you see those guys kind of getting a scuffle. And then you see Coach Klink, shout out Coach Klink and Michigan boys for making the playoff, didn't drop it at one point. And then he's in the middle of like this gom of dudes that are trying to get at each other. And he didn't drop, one time. It was unbelievable.
It's funny because that scuffle led to an NCAA-wide rule for all of college football nowadays. When you do warm-ups, you are not allowed to go out and warm up on the field pregame. Like before you have your scheduled like team warm-ups.
Really?
Without your number on something. So
really?
Like TK has to screen print our numbers on and give out a basic T-shirt and shorts to warm up.
So that they can identify you.
So they know who it is. Because the refs, it was both teams were just talking smack and then people started throwing some punches, whatever, but like no one knew who anybody was because you didn't have to wear your number.
Yeah.
And they were throwing their flag, like trying to give out pregame penalties. They were going to throw people out. They didn't know who it was.
That's amazing.
So now they make you wear numbers.
Were you on the bus when we got in that other scuffle at the racetrack?
Yes.
You were on the bus when that happened?
Well, the best part about that being my true freshman year is the true freshmen and the walk-ons were on the last bus.
Yeah.
It doesn't like there's the offense bus for the guys that were on the travel squad and played. There's the defense bus for those cats. And then the very last bus is the freshmen. So we're the last ones to pull in, and I'm just pulling in, and I can see the whole thing happening. It was hilarious.
So to paint you a picture, so like we have these different bowl events that everybody goes to, and both teams have to go to them, and you usually trade off. So like one morning we would go to practice.
Oh, we did this.
Yeah, you go to practice. The other team went to the event. The next day you'd vice versa. You'd switch it, and we get to Charlotte Racetrack, and so it was to where like we go around and pace cars and all that stuff, or actual NASCARs, and Virginia Tech was there before us. Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy? Hendon Hooker was on that team.
He was.
Yeah,
with Tavion Robinson.
Yeah, with Tavion Robinson, and so Virginia Tech was there before us, and so usually to avoid stuff like this, there's usually a 30-minute window of after the team, of after the team leaves or Team A leaves, Team B pulls up. Well, that didn't happen, and we pull up, and I remember standing waiting for the team picture. I think it was by the race car that they had like painted up for the belt bar or whatnot, and I was rocking this awesome 1986 Dale Earnhardt Sr. hat. Everybody around that racetrack loved it because they knew it was from the 80s. Shout out to my dad for that one. And all of a sudden, I just hear like, yo, 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 like this bunch, when stuff, pops off. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the hell happened? And then they said that, we got off the bus. They were getting on the bus. Some chirping started going on. And that's where it really all started. And so fast forward to the game, Lynn and them getting into it out there before pregame, and that shit was wild.
That's amazing. I got to follow this up with the story too, real quick. So during the SEC tournament, we were playing in Nashville. I think it was my junior year, so 2014. And
damn, you're old.
I know. Do you remember Marshall Henderson?
Yes, Ole Miss.
You remember him, Marshall Henderson? Yeah,
I remember him, Landshark guy.
Yeah. So we're at.
He was like the Chad Kelly of basketball.
100%.
The dude is out of his mind. And they randomly picked a person from each team to represent. Of course, I feel like I wasn't random considering they were like preparing for a game the next day, and they were like, "Why don't we just send Todd?" So I went, and Marshall gets picked from Ole Miss, and obviously there's the rest of the crew. So we go to this elementary school, and they asked us, we have like all the medias around and representatives from each school, and then obviously one player from each school. And I was like first in line, and they handed me this wireless mic, and they're like, "We just want you to say your name, say where you go to school, and what your major is going to be, or what your major is, or whatever." And so I'm Todd Lanner. I'm a senior at Kentucky. I'm marketing and business major, and I hand the mic to Marshall Henderson, and I swear to God, this is what he said. He looked out in a sea of fourth graders, and he goes, "Marshall Henderson, Dallas," and drops the mic and walked off the stage. And I was just like, where did they find this guy? Like, where did they find this dude? And then they went on and win the SEC tournament, and he's acting like a clown the whole time. But that was kind of a situation. We had a similar experience in the hallway after that game.
I would imagine so.
Dude's crazy. Did I just blow the mic out just now?
I think he ended up playing pro basketball in like Iraq or something.
He did. He went somewhere crazy. That dude's out.
Yeah,
of
he was
his
in
mind.
Iraq in like 2015 playing pro basketball as an American. People were like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't do that."
And then they brought him back, and what's his name? Kennedy at Ole Miss, the head coach, hired him as an assistant.
Culture, man.
That dude was out of it.
Get the train rolling. Well, Eli, I know it's been a long interview for you here. Usually longer than you usually expect after a game or something like that. But we appreciate you coming on, man. Good luck down at the bowl game. We will probably run into you.
We'll find you.
We'll probably run into you one night out there. Tell Stoops to 10 back the first couple nights of curfew. Let you guys have a little fun out in Nashville. Even though I will say, and I won't get into this story, that may not happen because of one incident we had down there. But
who caused that incident?
Who caused it?
Who caused it?
full disclosure, I was the one that
That's what I thought.
No. I was actually the guy that defused the bomb. And I was out past
the guy that defused the bomb is usually the one that gets caught.
No, I was diffusing the situation of someone else that caused the situation. And I called Stoops and I was like, hey, I'm diffusing this situation. I'll be there in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, all right, cool.
All right, last thing. I got to ask you one more thing before you leave. Can anybody beat Georgia in the playoffs?
I think so. I mean, I think this year is a more balanced college football than you've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's the elite, and then there's usually a steep drop off after the elite. But I think the elite teams are a lot more balanced this year. I mean, you saw in the conference championship games, like USC got upset by Utah, and then Kansas State was able to upset TCU. Like teams that
Utah was hitting that game, dude.
Yeah,
I think it low key felt like football was back from a defensive guy's perspective. When that safety came down and cracked his ass, I was like, okay, no targeting, no flag. Let the boys play. We're back, baby. Let's go.
I think what makes Georgia so hard to beat is they're, at least from a defensive perspective, because I didn't know much about their offense. I didn't really game plan for that. But like, they are a system defense, not trying to create a whole lot of havoc and confusion. They are just like, our guys are better than your guys. We're just going to beat you.
That's how they are in offense. Yeah. Dude. Like I've always said that Georgia, like especially when it comes to offensive lines, they're just straight maulers.
Yeah,
like they literally climbed the second level faster than anyone that I've ever played.
What does that mean?
That means they were literally like even if our defensive ends or our three techs or our nose guard did a great job of crossing face or trying to take up some sort of a double team, it felt like they were in my lap within an instant of a snap of a finger. I mean, and they're just on you. And once they lock on you, like big ass Ben Cleveland, you ain't getting off.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as
That's
that.
what makes good offensive linemen when you can get to the second level.
That's wild.
Because great defensive linemen are like sit in their gap and demand double teams and let their linebackers run free and make plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what their defense. So I mean, those guys are huge. Like I mean, the dude's last name, the nose guard, I played him the whole game. His last name was Stackhouse. And he was built like a stacked house. Like that dude is huge. He was like 340 something pounds, and he was just like his job the whole time was to stay right here.
Did Jalen Carter play that game?
He did.
What he did last week in that LSU game, just literally picking that guy up and instantly.
Oh, that was nuts! I forgot about that.
That was the hardest thing I've seen in a long time.
that was.
The thing. He's got a second gear because I've played him 2 years now, and he just has a second gear. Like most D linemen, like when they kind of see the ball, they try to like accelerate to it. I mean, he'll go from like playing his gap to throwing you across the line of scrimmage, swimming off and making the tackle before you can even blink, bat an eye. And I mean, he can just teleport from like when they do their stems and their movements, which isn't often, but when he does it, he'll go from a 3 technique to outside the tight end with one step. Wow. And he's 310 pounds. I mean, he's a physical specimen, really good football player. He's going to get drafted very high. He's just got a second gear a lot of guys don't have. But
Thank you.
Thank you again, man.
Been a blast watching y'all this year. Good luck in Nashville, man. We'll see you down there.
We'll see you down there, bro.
See you guys there.
We'll be right back with a in-person ad reading. Eli's a dog, dude.
He's a dog. I just said to you when we went to that break, that was badass hearing, like, I've heard, you talk defense and watching games with you and stuff, and it's fantastic, but hearing him kind of describe the other side of the ball was something I've never really got to hear before. I mean, I've heard from position players and things, but not somebody. That's why I asked the question I did. Like hearing him talk about, what he's calling out prior to the snap, and that's something that's the side of football I didn't get to that level to learn.
Yeah, and the thing about Eli is that he got to learn, like what he was saying about Drake Jackson. He is literally one of the smartest football players that I've ever played with.
Mm-hmm.
As far as even from being my teammate to an opposing offensive lineman, just his wits about the game. He's now a graduate assistant in that offensive line room. Drake is literally going to be a top offensive line coach in college football, if not the NFL one day, just because of how smart, how well he knows the game. And, even we were talking about, he pissed me off in practice all the time because he would literally see the littlest things. And I'm talking about like Eli was talking about, like with linebackers, they start creeping forward. Now, that's a pretty basic, and I'm not sitting there saying that, he's basic at all. I'm just saying that's a pretty basic understanding of that. That's when a linebacker's usually coming. We would literally, like, get up on your toes type shit. Get up on your toes type shit. To where if I even literally did this, just that movement alone, even though I knew I was blitzing, he would instantly call it. Be like, check, slide it left, slide it whatever, max protect 56, max 56, whatever it was. And so him being able to learn from Drake, I used to call him Mini Drake all the time just because even when he would get out there and, practice with the 2s and the 3s when he was a true freshman, I could see the potential and see how smart of a football player he was. So big shout out to Eli Cox for hanging out with us there for a couple hours. I'm sure we will run into him at some point in time down in Nashville. If we get down there early enough, I'm hoping we do. But we got another special guest.
We do have another special guest. This, speaking of guys being at the top of their game, I don't know if you know this or not, but Alex, we call him Volpe. Is that okay with you, Fair? Volpe was one of the top recruits in the country in golf, and it shocked the world for him to come to Kentucky, seriously. Because at the time, the program, wasn't really on the. I mean, you put them on the map, right? Like, well, not to put you on the spot here, but
they were trending. That's when, JB Holmes, the team that they had just honestly with him and the guys that were there, that was what kind of elevated, and honestly made me decide to want to come here because I saw where the program was trending. Coach Craig had been here, and I was ready. I wanted to come in, be the best player to ever come out of Kentucky, and take the program to the next level. SECs, unfortunately, my injuries and things like that didn't allow it. But
same,
yeah.
Can you teach me how to play golf?
I can do that.
I'm left-handed.
As long as we can get out there and drink a bunch of alcohol.
That's one reason why I go to the golf course. So we're good on that part.
That's his rule. He's like, we're gonna have fun.
I'm gonna be out there.
Because if I'm gonna be frustrated,
if we're not listening to music, we gotta listen to music and drink.
That's one thing. I've always so where I'm from in Paintsville, Paintsville Golf Course. When I was a kid growing up, they try to treat that shit like it was Pebble Beach, and there was such hard asses about it. I'm like, guys.
Have some fun.
Literally, you're out here because you want to escape your wife and kids. At least have some damn fun and loosen up while you can.
But for him though, it's such a fine-tuned craft that he worked at, tirelessly for so long that the frustration to not be able to perform the way that you want to is, it's the same as why you don't go out and, go through football drills all the time. It's not the same, but still, not the point. But you're not.
No, there's some guys that and I wish I could get to this level. There's some guys that'll take a couple shots before they go out because of that it loosens them up. It makes them feel like they can go out and play more loose. Marshawn Lynch, but he had an interview with Peyton Manning a year or two ago, and he was Peyton asked him, he was like, "Man, did you have any pregame rituals every day?" He's like, "Man, I had to have a shot and a half for each game." And he was like, "What?" He goes, "Hennessy." I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
And then he follows it up with Skittles the whole game.
God, could you imagine your stomach?
Oh, but not everybody can be John Daly, who, by the way, is
got a great John Daly story.
That's something. Well, let's start with that. Then we'll talk about why you're actually
John Daly story.
Okay, go.
So, Hootie and the Blowfish, huge golfers, or Darius Ruckers.
Yeah.
I mean, just massive golf fans. And we're playing in Charleston at Hootie at Bulls Bay.
Yeah.
And Daly shows up. So they have the day before the tournament, we had it's like a pro-am type deal. Well, Daly, who went to Arkansas, doesn't play with Arkansas. He plays with South Carolina. Shows up, no shoes on, plays no shoes, shirt untucked, shorts, ripping just darts.
Love.
He's got 3 other guys and one of the players. Well, the player obviously can't drink. He's like, "All right, guys, every birdie we make, we're taking shots." Well, we get to it's the 14th hole. They're 14 under through 14. Guys are fucking
tanked,
passed out, and they're we're tapping out, we're done. And Daly's just "Well, I'll finish it. I got you."
Tuesday for me.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, as good as much fun as golf is to talk about. Maybe we can't get around it now because it's cold, but we will soon. We're here to talk about your new brand. So I've sported this hat on the podcast a couple times. This is Alex's brand, Bluegrass Brothers. It's got a pretty cool story for how it got started, but he's kind of taken his platform and used it for a different angle here. So I'll let you have the floor for a second, talk a little bit about why you started it and what the goals are.
Yeah. So the idea behind it was basically I wanted to create something unique for Kentucky, right? We have a culture with the racing industry and the bourbon industry, and we've got, being from Kentucky, it's a pride thing. And I think that's what, partly what the name of the brand is about. I don't have a biological brother, but I have a lot of brothers. All three of us are from different parts of Kentucky. We take pride in, being from here. And, that's what I want to create. I want to create a brand that people, not only in Kentucky, are proud of, people in the state of Kentucky, the racing industry, the bourbon industry. We've got people that come from all over the world to Lexington. And I want, them when they come here to be able to be proud of a premium brand that they can take back and represent as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And what you've done with it so far is really cool. Most recently the 1 of 500 signature series shot. What's it called on the website?
So
limited edition small batch.
Yeah, it's so the idea behind that is obviously with our bourbon industry and business is booming on the bourbon side. So I wanted to incorporate into the brand small batch releases of clothing. And this one is our first. And I think we're all kind of proud of this, being Kentucky boys. So we're all in on this one
for life.
Is actually, so I was approached by a buddy of mine who actually played football before UCash. He was he was on the team, didn't play much, but he was like, man, I designed this logo 3 years ago, and I don't really know what the hell to do with it. And I was like, fuck it. I got an idea.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do this, but this is how we're going to do it. It's going to be our first release. It's going to be this small batch, and we're going to, we're just going to, try to promote it. We'll work it in. See, it's everything we have is really high quality products. Fabrics from our shirts, our sweatshirts, shorts. Our hats. But this one, I think, is going to be, prideful for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's extremely high quality because I put it through the ringer last weekend. I put that thing on at the start of the Louisville game, and it should have ripped a few times. It should have held some stains, but it stayed strong. It stayed up for me. So you put the cool patch on the bottom left, 1 of 500, small batch series, kind of a tag to the bourbon tie back there. Obviously the L's down. Patch on the chest, and he was able to get us some pre-ordered editions of that to wear out for the Louisville game last weekend. Was it 2 weekends ago? Sorry. And but we're gonna make a heavy push for the rest of the 500 that we just got in ahead of the Louisville basketball game. So
There's
we got a couple weeks.
Left,
yeah,
but...
no, not left, but
they're moving.
And you got the pop-up shop at Fayette Mall through New Year's.
Yeah. So I started the company at the end of October last year. So had no idea. I mean, blind, blacked out. Don't even know how the hell I, got in touch with, the people I did. But, it took, when you start, I mean, sometimes that's a good thing. But, being able to, choose fabrics, the sizing, all these different things, samples to get it right. Which is very important. I think that we would all agree, with our skill sets, in our sports, that, I'm a perfectionist. So trying to, making sure that the product is top quality, is very important to me. And, so now that I got the whole collection in, I set up a store out at Fayette Mall behind the coach, right next to Old School Coffee. And I'll be there till January the 15th.
Old School Coffee on the city over there.
I saw it.
Now, to speak to you spoke to the quality of product. That you've done a phenomenal job, and I know how many samples you went through and how long that process takes. As you're getting them in and you're weighing the different options and looking at the color options you want to use and all that stuff. Speaking from personal experience, I know what goes into that. So you've been very diligent. You're one of the most honest, trustworthy, transparent people that I know. You've been one of my very best friends for damn near a decade now, ex-roommate of mine. We've been through it together, and really, it's kind of funny because we're talking about going to this bowl game in Nashville, and I looked over at you, and he said, "Yeah, the Big Blue Nation travels well in Nashville," and I kind of glanced over at you because what sparked us living together was I was in Nashville for the SEC tournament and ran into him after school. You were moving back from Florida.
I was moving back from Florida, and
needed a place to come back home to, and we ended up working it out to where we could we shared an apartment for a while, and it was a benefit to both of us, and we've grown to become even closer since. Yeah. So have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. I'm proud of you, and you've done a phenomenal job. We talked. We're gonna add a candle line, right?
We got all kinds of shit lined up. Cash has got his whole. We already talked about this. I've already got it. He's got like the whole like hunting shit. It's gonna be the whole Cash Daniels. It's gonna be the Bluegrass Brothers Cash Daniels line. That shit's coming for sure.
I like it. Jorts, cut off camo shirt, and yeah, and that's what we're gonna roll with.
And some we need to put one of those Bluegrass Brothers patches on your All-Star shoes down there.
Oh, for my squad shoes?
We can probably get some of those made too.
Yeah, I bet we can figure it out. That we don't have. There's none laying around.
As long as they're camo, Cash is in.
I'm good with it. Yeah. As long as it's real tree, we're good.
We'll have him some duck calls and all kinds of crazy shit.
There you go. Now you're thinking.
Yeah.
We appreciate you stopping by, brother. Thank you very much. We can check out the website. I'll let you go ahead and do the social media and website. Shout outs.
Bluegrassbrothers.com. And Instagram, it's bluegrass_brothers.
Awesome. And he was kind enough to let us help with the promotion. So we got a little bit of a partnership going on. He's going to help support the podcast. And you can go to bluegrassbrothers.com or through the social medias to find the website. Put in the code fully unscripted, and you'll get free shipping on your first order. And those won't last long. So hop on it quick. And
be a friend, tell a friend.
Yeah, there you go. How's that dip? You were
needed it. He was fiending for it.
He was fiending for it worse than I was my milk.
I've been working. I've been trying to sell bourbon all day, man. Unfortunately, I can't go in fully loaded. Talking to these people. Say, hey,
so got to throw a quid in.
I swear. I hate when you call it that shit.
People at my high school call dip quids. They say I got to throw a quid in. So if I say it to him, he gets all butthurt.
You guys are wearing your nice little
sweater vest
and your ties.
There you go. I didn't go to Catholic.
Still Lexington.
Whatever. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back. That was two great guests. What Volpe's doing with that brand and kind of shining a light on what makes this state so precious to us. Being from here is, certainly something I'm proud to be a part of. I know you are too. So we appreciate him taking a second to stop by.
I'm looking forward to my line of
camo gear,
camo cutoffs, camo hats, and the jorts have to be 5-inch inseams or shorter. I don't like my long shorts, as you can tell.
Yeah, you're just giving the camera a full. Can we get a push in on
my backside of my thigh here?
Amazing.
Now you make me feel self-conscious. I feel like a girl when she goes on one of those talk shows wearing a skirt. Much like
Oh my god.
Hang on here for a second. But yeah, dude, that was awesome. Eli Volpe, he's got a good thing going. Always got respect for guys that are, betting on themselves and putting their heart and soul into something that they believe that could work for them in the end. So. We'll do a good job of keeping you guys posted of anything that comes out new for them. Like you said, go to the website, go to the social media page, be a friend, tell a friend. It's quality shit.
It is. It's really good stuff. I like the design of the hoodie. When you check out the website, I'll probably wear one on here in the next couple of weeks. But the hoodie's got a. I don't even think you've seen this yet. He's got a one button. Like it's a hooded like sweatshirt, but it's got one button so that it kind of becomes like tighter on your neck.
Turtleneck.
Not really, but it's just a cool design, something I've literally never seen before. I've never seen anybody do it that way. He wanted something unique. It's a pretty cool little design. I like it a lot. So yeah. Dope. All right. So let's stay on the topic of Kentucky for a second, right? What do you put the odds at that Coen comes back?
From everything that I've seen on Twitter today, it seems like he's the first option, and they're making a big push to bring him back. Obviously, you saw the success that he had in his first year here, his first and only year here. And kind of like what Eli was saying, and that's, kind of what I've been saying this whole time was that, he comes from the McVay tree, and obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes into that with that kind of scheme, but he simplified it for college guys. And I think that's why you saw the explosiveness that you saw, with his year here was that, it's a complicated system.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, but it's fine.
Okay.
Oh
I didn't want to put. I'm not going to shy away from asking questions that I want the answer to from most people, but because
he's a player,
he's current player.
Yeah, player can't do that.
So Coen simplified an offense to make it fit college, and a lot of credit to Eli for the way he answered that, because I like Rich.
He's a smart guy. He knows how to talk.
But Rich is I met Rich right when he got here. Good guy. Definitely seemed excited for this type of a challenge. But it takes a special, type of coach to take a complicated system like that and make it fit, put a round peg in a square hole, so to speak. Obviously we didn't see as much success with that as we would have liked, with the way that he, kind of ran the offensive side of the ball. But, did Coen struggle in the same way on the other side of the coin?
I don't think so, because he simplified it so much. And I think another aspect that people are forgetting was that how well he related to the players. Because nowadays, or any days, like if you get a coach that can, relate to the players and be able to know that when you come into work that day, that, coach is going to be, I'm not going to sit here and say that, he's because people get players coach misconstrued all the time. Is that, he's a players coach, he allows, the guys to run wild and free, doesn't have any controls. Like, no, it's built on a trust and respect aspect. And I think that's what Coen brought to the table more than anything, was that he was relatable to the guys and simplified in that offense and made them feel comfortable out there and gave them confidence, knowing that every single time that he made a play call, they knew it wasn't going to be a magical play call, but they knew that the blocking scheme was simplified. They knew that the play call in itself was simplified. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the more simple you can make things work for you out there, the more free you can be playing out there in your headspace, and the more free you are, the better everybody plays.
Well, what do you think, and you don't have to answer this because I don't know if you know how to answer this, but what do you think he struggled with then when he made the jump to L.A.?
Because at the end of the day, it's Sean McVay's offense. He's not the guy that's, from what I understand, and I could be completely wrong, from what I understand from it, he's making like play call suggestions, and then McVay has the last say into it. It's like, okay, it's third and medium. We show that they have, they may bring pressure. They may play conservative. Based upon what they studied on film. He may call a simple smash route, or he may call inside zone or something like that. And then McVay could be like, no, we want to run this, we want to run that. So I think that Coach Stoops gave him the full freedom of playing to his strengths and calling to his strengths, and allowing him to have that freedom of, I'm the play caller, And so at the end of the day, whoever we get in here, I'm sure is going to do a great job. And I know that Coach Stoops he's every single year, whether it be recruiting, whether it be additional coaches, everything that he does, it's always the betterment of the program. And he's done a terrific job ever since he stepped in here. So I hope it's Liam Coen. I really do, just because he brought that excitement of being able to threaten defenses vertically down the field that we haven't seen before his arrival. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, especially if we can, get a quarterback back there that can deliver, like number 7 has these past couple of years. So it's going to be pretty fun. But speaking of coaching changes.
Knew this was coming.
Speaking of coaching changes. Coach Prime at Colorado. And this is going to be awesome. I love it. I love Deion Sanders. I love everything he stands for in coaching as a player, as a person. I love Deion Sanders, dude.
We haven't discussed this, first off, me too, but we haven't discussed this off camera at all. Did you see the video?
Yeah.
I know your thoughts, but go ahead and try to put them into words.
Are you talking about when he met with Colorado?
I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis.
But here's the thing. He was transparent.
Oh, I know.
And here's what I had a conversation with today with some other guys, is that usually when a head coach comes in, they give their speech about, hey guys, I'm grateful to be here. They give the coach speech, the basic coach speech. Coach Prime ain't no basic coach. He's in there, and he said it best. We're not here to compete. We're here to win. And that's the only thing that matters. when you have a guy like that with that kind of mindset, is saying, I'm coming, and these guys are coming with me, it may be right, wrong, or indifferent to the players at that point in time because they've been there, they've invested in that program. But like you said,
we're not beating around the bush.
Not done anything with it, and we're not beating around the bush about it. I'm bringing guys in that are dogs, that are hungry, that would kill to be in this room with you, that would kill to have been in this room come out of high school like you guys were. Like,
now you got to earn it to stay.
He was talking about the guys and their facilities at Jackson State compared to what they have there. And obviously, he's probably brought a lot of, he definitely has brought a lot of prominence, respect, pride, everything in between to Jackson State, because Deion he's a winner. Mm-hmm. Whether he was a player, as a coach, dude's a damn winner at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And he's bringing that kind of attitude to a program that hasn't been relevant. And I couldn't tell you when Colorado's been relevant in football, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe back in the 80s, early 80s, late 80s, I'm not sure.
But they got the money. I mean, they're
imagine what
that's what I'm saying. He got
the number one recruit in all of America to come to Jackson State. And out of going to Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Ohio State, teams that are playing for a national championship here in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And he chose to come to Jackson State because of Deion Sanders. Mm-hmm. Imagine what he can do now with NIL money, with a collective, with the coaching staff that he's bringing in. Mm-hmm. The social media aspect of it. Did you see the part where they were talking about social media on there? Mm-hmm. Everything, he wants to win at everything. And even the video that they showed of him telling the Jackson State players that he was leaving, one video that a lot of people didn't see was after the fact that he announced, and all the players came around and he asked if anybody had anything to say. Mm-hmm. Every single one of those players was talking about how appreciative they were for the opportunity, how appreciative they were for him as a man, to tell him, like, we didn't come in here thinking that, we were just going to be a basic ass team. Mm-hmm. We knew we were going to win because we had the winning attitude at the helm. And so I will go ahead and predict this right now. Colorado will be playing for a bowl game next year. They will be playing for a bowl game because this transfer portal, which is like NFL free agency now.
I believe that without a doubt.
He's bringing 10, 12 of his own dogs, and they Louis.
I bet.
He's bringing everybody else too, and they straight Louis.
We need to check the line to see if when the line will come out for if Colorado's bowl eligible next year.
I'm hammering it.
That's what I'm saying. I bet there's early lines out on it already.
I would guarantee there is, because at the end of the day, he's transparent enough, and at the end of the day too, I'm sure that most of those Colorado kids, they may not have liked what they have heard, but they probably respected it.
Yeah.
At the fact is like, hey, it is what it is. And I saw today where the Colorado quarterback entered the transfer portal, because even at his press conference, he was talking about his son. He goes, like, want to introduce you to, I can't remember his son's name off the top of my head. He's like, he's your quarterback. Mm-hmm. And, people, I've seen some comments of like, oh, daddy's bringing his boy, going to put him in already. He's like, no, they've been solidified winners. And he's like, oh, he's already announcing that he's going to be a starting quarterback even without having a competition, or whatnot. It's like, at the end of the day, he took a program that wasn't winning and made him into the SWAC champions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any qualms with the way he's going about it. I think, you can sit there and complain all you want, but imagine like having those questions in the back of your head. If he comes in and gives just the normal, mediocre type, like, yeah, I'm thankful for this job.
That ain't prime.
And not, but I'm saying, and doesn't just straight up say like, imagine you and I were on that Colorado team, right? And he comes in, he's like, hey, I'm very thankful for this job. Like, let's get to work. And then he walks out of the room. You and I are going to be like, you think anybody's coming from Jackson State?
Exactly.
Like, you think they don't have to ask those questions. He's going to straight up
tells you right from the get-go that, hey, change is coming. There's guys coming with me. And they're going to know what sacrifice is like.
Yeah, so you're either going to fight for your spot on this team and be thankful for being a part of it, or there's a transfer portal. So
you can go anywhere you want now without even having to sit out a year. Yep. Go ahead and hit it.
Yep.
Test your waters out there. But if you want to win, you got the attitude to, not be a quitter, not to be, intimidated by work, not to be scared of work, then we're going to win. Mm-hmm. And I believe in Deion Sanders.
It reminded me a lot, honestly, that speech. I know this is just so cliche, but it reminded me a lot of that Denzel speech in Remember the Titans when he walks into camp the first day. I don't remember word for word what he says. I used to know this whole movie inside and out, but basically he's like perfection is what I demand, like period, you know? And
Water's for the weak.
Yeah.
Water's for
you don't get water on my jersey.
Water's for getting blood off my uniform. You don't get no damn blood on my uniform.
Zero fun, sir.
I'm
But
pumped for it,
that
man.
attitude though, not as like demanding, but as look, this is where we're gonna be.
The standard.
You're either going to
He's setting the standard early.
Yeah. You're either gonna rise to the level of what I need you to be to wear this uniform, or there's the door. And you know, you gotta come to work, man. You gotta come to work. I love it.
I love it too, man.
I might get me a Colorado jersey.
I might literally become a Colorado fan because of this. I mean, I was already a fan of Jackson State just because of what he did down there. But if he comes to, big time Big 12 football, no, they're Pac-12 football out there. I mean, you saw, and no disrespect to Utah, but if Utah can come out and win the Pac-12 2 years in a row, Coach Prime, the transfer portal, NIL, and everything that he brings with his confidence, his swagger, and that trickles down.
You think high school players and other players at other universities aren't looking at each other right now?
Absolutely. They're like, hey, man, I'm not getting enough PT time here.
Yeah.
I saw one of the Alabama running backs, he tweeted, he was like, you got room for me, Unc?
Really?
Yeah.
That's dope.
So it's going to be fun times ahead for Colorado. I was expecting, to be quite honest with you, I'm really surprised that he did not get the Auburn job. And I'm also really surprised that he didn't get the Florida State job a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because he didn't have, big time football experience. I don't know if it was because of, they may think he's too loud, may think he's, whatever. At the end of the day, he's prime time.
Yeah.
He's solidified himself, and he's not going to change for anybody. And that's one of the most things I respect about him. He's 10 toes down about who he is as a person, who he is as a coach, and he's not going to change anything.
It doesn't surprise me that he didn't get the Florida State job a couple years ago because it takes a certain pedigree, or at least that's the perception, right?
Yeah. Speaking of surprises.
But I can't understand the Auburn situation.
Well, I mean.
I would have thought, I really would have thought.
And I've been trying to find an answer for this of maybe why they would have hired Hugh Freeze. And I know a lot of people are upset about it, especially within the Auburn community. But I think really what they looked at was that he has 2 wins over Nick Saban. Now, that's just me, ballparking it here, whatever. He does have 2 wins over Nick Saban, and they've not beaten Alabama since the kick 6. So, I don't know. We'll see. And speaking of other surprises, and speaking of the L's Down shirt that Volby had on, Scott Satterfield.
Yeah, I don't know.
Leaving Louisville to take the Cincinnati job after it was announced that Louisville will be playing Cincinnati in the bowl game. What do you do in that situation? You've already lost the locker room.
I don't know.
You either, there's either 2 options. You either coach for Cincinnati or you don't go. Because, if I'm a player, if I'm sitting in that locker, I'm not playing for that guy.
I don't know. I don't even know what.
Okay, imagine.
No, I don't know how to respond.
But I'm sitting there trying to say, imagine if, Coach Cal, you guys went into a tournament and your first game's against Michigan State. And coach from Michigan State leaves to take another job somewhere. And it's already set in stone. You're playing Michigan State. And then Coach Cal's like, hey, guys, I'm going to go take the Michigan State job. I'll see you guys here in a couple weeks.
I had to check the calendar to make sure it wasn't April 1st. I don't even know how to put into words how weird that is.
I feel like, and here's the thing, it's L's Down for life. It's a great rivalry and all, but from a player's perspective, I feel bad for those dudes. Yeah, I really do. I really do feel bad for those Louisville players because they bought into what he was saying as a coach. They went out week after week and fought for that guy. They fought for themselves just to, and I think he announced it over a Zoom call. Didn't even meet with the players.
Did you see all those Louisville players that started responding? I've heard that.
That's
before.
what I'm saying.
They responded to the video of him speaking to Cincinnati, saying, "I've heard this before. Sounds familiar." But
here's the thing too.
It's uncomfortable.
If Cincinnati players are seeing that, how can you fully believe in this guy coming into your program now?
I can't. I don't even have words for it. I really don't. Like I'm all
wait until after the fucking bowl game.
I'm all L's down. Whatever. But I still want to see the university be successful because I want the rivalry to be fun and competitive. Yeah. When football is dealing with what they're dealing with, the program. I mean, they're dealing with Strong. They were dealing with shit. They were dealing with
Bobby Petrino. Don't even start with Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino. They're dealing with shit. Rick Pitino. They're dealing with shit. I mean, it's gotten out of control. Now KP's not got a win, a W in the win column. It's to the point that I'm just kind of like, man, I feel bad. Like this is not good for. Like this is just not good for the rivalry. Like, no, I want Louisville to be successful. I just want to beat them when they're at their best. I don't want to beat them when they're.
I mean, I want to beat them anytime, but like
I know, but like
okay, like you're saying, and I think what you're trying to say is like you want to see them be successful, but when they play us, we want to beat their ass.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything if we say the little brother thing, like playfully, and they are our little brother, but like. We want to beat them when they're good. Nobody wants them. Nobody like it doesn't.
Well, it's like when we beat them my freshman year when Lamar won the Heisman and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like that meant so much.
It meant something.
That meant so much more than when we beat them my junior and senior year, like 52 to 7 or 52-10.
Yeah, and we're gonna. I mean, more than likely, knock on wood, we're gonna smoke them in the basketball game. But like that sucks because like I want to see KP and Cal go head to head, right? Like I want to see that be a good basketball game. I don't want to see them come in here and get pummeled. But whatever.
Let's shift into basketball. They played over in London.
They played in London. Yeah, played Michigan. Juwan Howard's squad.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. Yeah, he's got both of his sons are on the team. The younger one, plays a significant amount of minutes. But they're a good basketball team. I don't know really what I take away from that game, to be honest. We had some things that looked good, but some very obvious issues both on the defensive and offensive end. We shot 50% from the free throw line. I mean,
I'm not a big basketball guru, but you can't do that.
You cannot shoot 50% from the free throw line. I mean,
it's called a free throw
yeah,
for a reason.
You are not going to win games against good basketball teams shooting 50% from the line. And there was just some things that Michigan could have done to probably make it a little bit harder of a game for us. It ended up being, I think we won by 6, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball's felt a little weird so far this year with the travel to London and everything. There's 6 days in between 3 games in a row. So ball game, 6-day gap, ball game, 6-day gap, ball game.
Is there a big time change for that? I would imagine.
Oh yeah, it was 5 hours. I think 6 hours. They played. I think 6 o'clock. I think they played 6 p.m. London time. The game was at 1 Eastern.
Yeah, because you were over at Lex Live doing that.
Yeah, did the pregame show at Lex Live. Yeah, but I get to see them. They got a game Saturday here, and then I'm gonna get to see them live in New York against UCLA at Madison Square Garden next week.
That'll be dope.
I'm gonna go up for that. So that'll be interesting to get to see them. When the lights shine the brightest against a pretty good team. But Michigan was hard fought. Obviously neutral site, neutral refs, if you want to call it that. But just not shooting well from the free throw line. Significant lapses on the defensive end. I'm just always overly critical. I don't want to sound like I'm harping on the negative ever when I'm talking about us. But just like you, I know what it looks like when it's perfect, right?
Yeah,
I know what the reps look like in practice. I know what standard they're held to. And so when you see them, drop the ball on some obvious things that quite frankly, a lot of it's effort driven. It's frustrating. But I got to remember that we're dealing with a bunch of young kids. This team is a little bit older. We got the returning National Player of the Year. We've got an All-American at the point guard position in Severe. And, guys like CJ and who's played 60, 70 something college games before transferring in here from Iowa, ironically. And then you got, a couple other returners and Jacob Toppin and Lance Ware and those kind of guys that have been around. They should be holding those guys to a different standard. And when you have, falling asleep on defense, getting backdoor cuts like against Bellarmine, those kind of things are frustrating, but it's something we got to be patient with, just like everything else. With basketball, we're lucky enough to have, potentially 40 games in a season, whereas football, we're looking at, 12 weeks.
12 Saturdays, that's it.
So, we've got a little bit more time, but the scary thing for me, as, looking at it from a basketball perspective, is our out-of-conference schedule. We only have, 4 or 5 big games that the committee come March Madness is going to look back to decide seeding placement. Like, they don't care that we beat Bellarmine, right? They're going to look at how we performed against these other guys,
Gonzaga,
these big
Michigan,
names, yeah,
all those guys.
And when you we're running out of chances when you drop the ball on a couple of them, or you don't use that time to showcase what you're capable of doing. That's the plot points on the scale that they're going to point back to come March, and we don't want to end up with a bad seeding because the committee is going to point to examples that we didn't perform our best. So it's even though it's early on. We're first week of December now, but we're running out of chances to prove that we're where we belong, come committee time. So, got to perform in these next couple up in New York against UCLA, and then the SEC is going to be a pretty tough road. But
I was about to say, who do you think is the biggest threat in the
Arkansas.
SEC? Arkansas?
Yeah, they're nasty.
Okay.
There's going to be some pretty good teams, and there's a lot of great coaches in this conference. But there's probably 2 or 3 that are gonna give us some fits, especially if we keep having some of the struggles we've had. Again, if you shoot 50% from the line, everybody in this league can beat us.
Mm-hmm. When's that? Is the game at Arkansas?
I don't know. To be honest,
do they do 2 and 2?
Arkansas
Or 1-1, one home, one away?
I think Arkansas does have both this year. I think.
Dude,
I'll check real quick.
I know what we should do.
Tell me.
Plan out a duck trip around that shit. Arkansas is like the mecca of duck hunting, dude. That shit's gonna be wild if we do that.
We can do that.
That'd be dope.
You gonna teach me how to get one?
You should know how to shoot a gun.
I know how to shoot a gun.
All you gotta do is you're gonna play the duck call. Oh, whack, 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 whack. Cut them.
We got them. Let's see. Alabama's 8th too right now. Let's see here. Arkansas is 9th. Arkansas, we play Alabama. Here, I'll run through it real quick. So, UCLA is number 19. We got them on a week from Saturday. So we play Yale Saturday, then we got a week break again, like I said, till UCLA in New York. And then fast forward after Louisville and everything, conference starts, we got Alabama on January 7th. Tennessee, who's number 7, we got them on January 14th.
Did they beat Kansas this year already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
know they were damn good last year.
And then we have Kansas, who's number 6 on January 28th. I'm skipping to the ranked games, obviously. Arkansas, first game is at Kentucky on the February 7th. And then we finish at Arkansas March 4th.
Damn.
It's the last game of the regular
Duck
season.
season's going to be out. I'll be in Florida that time getting ready for my turkey hunting excursion. Or excursion. There we go.
Excursion?
Excursion.
There you go.
But been a hell of an episode, dude. I'm ready to go home. We ran a little long, so
Brandon's gonna be mad.
He's
shaking his head. He's not mad.
We'll do another Christmas whatever draft in next week's episode.
Yeah.
I think we should do Christmas songs.
Let's do it. I didn't wear my sweat. Well, it's warm today. It's 56 degrees today.
It was 60 in Somerset.
I did have my sweater on. I took it off. I had on a Budweiser knitted Budweiser holiday sweatshirt today.
Did it feel like you ate a ham sandwich and you put it on, just like when you drink your beer?
Could eat. I would like to have a ham sandwich.
I'm going to devour some food when I get home.
What am I going to have for dinner? I want to
probably soup.
He mentioned I do have soup on the stove already. It's been slow cooking all day. But he mentioned pasta for pregame meal. I used to slam angel hair pasta and meat sauce with garlic bread. Mm-hmm. I might have to stop by Pasta Garage and grab some of that tonight.
I might have Pasta Garage in a minute. All right, that's it for us.
You'll have to do an extra mile if you do some Pasta Garage.
I still got to do cardio. Fuck.
Yeah. I'm going to the gym right now.
You are?
Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to go eat.
On an empty stomach?
Yep.
Have fun with that.
I got a protein bar. I'll be all right.
Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all watching. Tell a friend, be a friend about the podcast. Check us out on social media. Instagram. We'll leave everything down below. Twitter. All that good shit.
Thanks, Eli. Thanks, Volpe. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brandon, as always, for helping us produce this. And see y'all next week.